maxed it out of my speakers.
Microphone's turned on.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Westborough Finance Advisory Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, March 10th, 2022. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, meetings conducted by hybrid means will be conducted in person and via remote access in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body may access these meetings in person or via remote means using the link previously published. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting by in-person attendance. Additionally, meetings are broadcast in real time via Westborough TV, Verizon Channel 28, Charter Channel 192, or on www.youtube.com/WestboroughTV. Sorry about the delay. We had a couple of technical difficulties, including the room being double booked. And so we had to get squared away about those things, but everything seems to be okay right now. So we'll begin the meeting with an approval of the minutes of March 7th, which Walter made available. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we will go to a vote. Beth is not here tonight, so Melanie, you're going to start us off?
Board abstain.
Bradley, yes.
Bolin, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiq, yes.
Beretti, yes.
1, 2, 3,
Okay.
701.
So, as I understand it, and Paul or Walter, correct me if I'm wrong, we have about 7 articles remaining. Those are 5A, 7, 11, 35, 36, 37, and 38. Am I missing any?
You missed 6, which we
6.
weren't going to do now,
Okay,
and 11's a revote.
yes. So 6, okay. So unless there are any objections, let's begin with Article
We have
5.
7 on that list?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
7 was on that list?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
that
Let's
one.
begin with Article 5A, please. This concerns reserve funds for the Advisory Finance Committee. And the article reads that we are requesting an additional 200, or not an additional, we are requesting the usual $250,000 for our reserve fund for fiscal '23. Any discussion about this article? Walter?
It also includes the other reserves, the $50,000 reserve and 20. What we had talked about before was whether we wanted to wait till we resolve this year's snow to decide anything about next year's,
Doesn't impact, well, I mean.
but
the,
I'm okay with voting this now
Yeah.
too, but that's why it's been held up in the other 2 meetings that we had on votes.
Yeah,
would
So-
go ahead, Hank.
suggest if we think the snow and ice budget for next year is inappropriate, we ought to change the snow and ice budget, not the reserve fund.
That probably makes more sense,
Yeah,
yeah.
and-
If anybody has any data,
Yeah,
again, I would
Yeah.
underline the
So-
term data that says that the snow and ice budget proposed by the DPW is inappropriate. We ought to let that, and just go with it.
so then the strategy will be hold off on number 6, which was just the replenishment,
Six
but
is
let's
a-
vote
is a-
this one now, it's
story,
good with
because
me.
We we will have new data to support what we're doing on number 6.
Yep.
We have a meeting on Thursday, and we can talk about it when we get there.
Yep.
I'm not aware of any, of more than, I mean, it's been a rare occasion when the reserve fund's been totally consumed in any year, $250,000.
Plus, we have the opportunity to refresh it like we
And
might
if,
do
you know,
now.
if for some reason we have a really bad situation, we could refresh it in the Springtown meeting next spring, right? And
Yeah.
at this point,
So Mike, I'll make a motion if you want.
Anything else, Hank?
Yep.
You all set?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'll accept the motion, Walter.
Okay, I move that we recommend the town vote to transfer the sum of $250,000 from free cash for the Finance Committee General Reserve Fund, transfer $20,000 from the Country Club retained earnings to the Country Club Reserve Fund, transfer $50,000 from water retained earnings to the Water Enterprise Reserve Fund, and transfer $50,000 from sewer retained earnings for the Sewer Enterprise Reserve Fund.
Is there a second?
second,
Melanie?
Board, yes.
Hold on.
Bradley, yes.
Whoa.
All right, timeout. Walter's got to get his
Voting list out,
voting list.
since we have to
So
track
Melanie
everybody.
was a
Okay,
yes.
reserve, well, first, Leslie Roush, okay. Okay, now we can go.
Okay. Andrew?
Bradley, yes.
Poland, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Yes.
Moretti, yes.
All right, that is 8-0-0.
Okay. Article 6 is the article with respect to the additional funds for the Advisory Finance Committee. And the strategy that we're going to use on this is not vote on it until we have complete data. And then if there is a requirement, we'll take it up on the on the floor of the town meeting.
Well, I think there's a requirement to decide whether something, because it's on the warrant, right?
We're
So
going to decide, yeah,
either we
but
go
we're not going to vote
more or
on it
less or
tonight.
indifferent.
Right.
Okay, great.
But the
Makes
line that
sense.
goes in the R&R book is the Finance Committee will provide advice on town meeting floor.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, any concerns about that? Very good. We now move on to Article 7, which is Hazardous Waste Day.
I
Yes.
move the Finance Committee recommend the town defeat this article as printed in the warrant.
Is there a second to that motion? Hearing none?
Second.
Yes? Sorry, Andrew, did you second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, to defeat the motion, the article. Andrew?
Yes, that's correct. I'm
Okay.
seconding the motion.
I just wanted to be very careful. Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, my estimate from the numbers we received of the participation in the last waste day activity is approximately 4%, somewhere in the range of 4 or less % of the households in the town of Westborough participated in this activity. I don't understand why 100% of the households should pay for 4% of the households. If we need a hazardous waste day, let's make it a pay-to-throw. Our town dump is a pay-to-throw, has always been a pay-to-throw. If you don't pay to throw at the town dump, your only choice is to hire, used to be Tidy Town, now it's somebody else, to haul your waste away. So, I mean, the model of pay-to-throw for waste is one that we've used before. To say that hazardous waste could be done on a pay-to-throw basis works for me.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
Walt?
I don't disagree with Hank at all. I think that is a good strategy going forward, especially if we're going to do this more often. But I look at this as an event that has not been held for 2 years now. And at the last minute to ask this process to be potentially held up or pushed back another year as we change the implementation, I think is giving short notice. I'm all in favor of making this the last, town-funded event and having future events based on pay-to-throw have to be able to account for the fact that maybe not all 4% will come, or, come up with pricing strategies and what might be a more complicated financial event than the current model. Not against doing it, just think it requires more than this year to do.
I mean, Andrew, I don't think it pushes it back a year, because it will not require town meeting approval to have a pay-to-throw event.
No, but I think it'll take some time for the town to pull this together.
Oh, I'm sure, but
And as I say, it's much more complicated than just assume the same 4% shows up.
sure, but they, I mean, again, there's no specified date for when the event was gonna occur. I'm sure that between now and November, the event can occur.
Walter?
I disagree strongly with the motion to defeat. I'm very supportive of the article, so I would have voted in the other direction. When we got the information we requested, I was actually impressed that 249 vehicles participated in September on that day, because you look at how much stuff's collected, that could cost us a whole lot more money when it ends up in the wrong place. I think it's a bargain, and I think it's the kind of thing a town should do. It provides the opportunity for people, regardless of income, to be able to get rid of things like insecticides and auto supplies that otherwise might end up in either in our dump or in a bad place and cause other problems. So I will be voting no on the motion to defeat.
Any other comments?
One observation that I didn't know about the 250 car count, but at $30,000 for 250 cars, the cost would be at minimum $120 a car, which would absolutely reduce the number of cars showing up, guaranteeing out of the gate that it would be a cost loser, and we'd find ourselves in having some way to cover the cost otherwise.
Okay. Anybody else?
Paul's got his hand.
Okay, Paul, I'm sorry, your hand's up. Go ahead. Paul?
Thanks. I was gonna vote, for the original article, but Hank's convinced me, 4%, that's, whatever's, and my fear is that they do end up in the wrong place, whether it gets just thrown into the regular trash or something worse. But if only 4% are following the rules, it's a good point. I think I'm gonna defeat too.
Okay. Tom?
The 4% turnout, in my mind, I kind of echo Walter's sentiment where it could be a lot more expensive if some of this stuff ended up elsewhere in the wrong place. I think the data shows that perhaps advertising the event might make it a little more of a success. So maybe we give it one more shot and then try and really bang the drum and get folks to turn up. So I'm going to vote in support of it and hope that we can get some more traction.
You're okay.
No,
You know,
you vote
is-
against to defeat it.
Yeah, you're going to vote against it?
I'm
Against the
voting-
motion? Well,
I'm
whatever
voting
you vote,
against-
you vote. Yeah,
I'm going to vote against the recent motion because I support the day itself.
I kind of agree with Andrew in terms of timing. I agree with Hank's suggestion that it be a pay-to-throw. But I think the timing might be best planned for the next fiscal year as opposed to this fiscal year. But that's just my opinion, unless we want to modify the motion to include a recommendation on pay-to-throw for the future.
Very difficult to do that, but
Yeah.
there are ways.
Michael, I have one more comment.
Go ahead,
This is
Paul.
Thank you. I was just thinking, if a lot more people did turn out as they should, the price will go way up too, just so you know that, I believe it's paid at, it's an estimate and it's paid on it, but either way, the following year will go way up if it's really used. So we'll have to deal with that.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Any other conversation? Any other comments? All right, let's move to a vote. Melanie? Well, let's be clear. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of defeating the article. If you vote no, you're voting against the motion.
Correct.
Melanie?
Board, yes.
Bradley, no.
Dolan, no.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, no.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Moretti, yes.
Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think yeses, and 1, 2, 3 noes. So that motion passes 5-3-0.
Okay.
Just a point, I think, Mike, it'd be appropriate for you to let the chair, the health agent's first name's Joshua, and I can't remember his last name, know that we've taken this vote and that, you know, that, just that he's aware that we're not gonna support it at town meeting.
Yeah, Melanie is the,
You're the liaison.
Liaison.
I forgot
Health
who was the
department?
liaison.
yeah,
It's
the
not,
health
it's a,
department.
no,
He's a fairly new, I think he's a new health agent in town, he may not be as connected as some of the past ones were, and
Okay.
be just a good courtesy to let him know.
I thought,
there's a
Excuse
excuse me,
female.
I thought that Jennifer Sullivan?
Jennifer, yeah, is
I
the
thought
head of
she
the
was
health
the new
department.
Head of the health department.
Oh, okay, I got the
Yeah.
wrong name then, I don't.
Yeah,
So Melanie
Be
will
ready.
take care of,
Be ready, they're gonna wanna come before us again and convince us otherwise. That's what
would
happened.
you, Paul, you're not, I'm sorry, you're not very clear. Can you say that again?
If it goes like other articles, they're gonna ask to appear before us again to argue their case. So be ready for that
Yep.
special
Okay.
meeting.
Well, we'll see what happens. Okay, moving on. The next article is Article 11, which is the senior assessment. Is there any, does someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move the, Article 11, yeah, Finance Committee vote to support the senior needs assessment as printed in the warrant. Vote to raise an, vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $50,000 to support the senior needs assessment.
Is there a second?
Bradley, second.
So this is a revote, so I
This
just
is
need a
correct.
second here.
This is a revote. Hang on, folks.
So Roush, Bradley.
Okay?
Yep.
Any discussion?
I wasn't at Monday's meeting, and I heard that Christie gave compelling arguments. However, I didn't go back and look at I didn't view the meeting itself, so I'm gonna abstain again on this one.
Tom?
I was initially against it, just thinking that $50,000 was a lot of money to conduct an assessment, but sleeping on it and hearing Christine folks, I've changed my mind, so I'm gonna be voting in support of it.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
Just, you know,
Yeah.
there's in the neighborhood of 3,500 over 55 citizens in the community. That's a 1919 number,
Yeah.
a 2019 number, excuse me. That number will increase by approximately 1,000 to 1,200 people in the next couple of years as the Chauncey Lake development gets sold out. So you'll have, you know, by the time this assessment is complete and we're ready to do something, we'll have it in the neighborhood of 4,500 over 55 citizens in the community. To try and reach out to even 10% or 15% of those folks, to get an understanding of what they perceive their needs are and what sorts of solutions are needed. $50,000 is not an excessive number to reach out to a population of 4,500 people.
Walter?
Yeah, so since I wrote the minutes, I had a chance to hear this twice, you know, live and again, when I went through it. And I thought
I'm a Memorex.
there were a lot of good arguments in favor. I was in favor before, but Hank's point about the increased population appearing, Mike's point about the fact that we're going to be considering whether to do, you know, library, senior center, community center, whatever. That's all really important stuff, and I think, to me, this makes sense to do.
Andrew?
While I was grateful for Christie's feedback about why we should be looking at a Cadillac here, At this time of the year, I still don't think the Cadillac is the best, most economic choice. But all of that being said, I think that this is a really important thing to do. I don't know why, for example, we're expanding from 60 to 55. I think that is just adding an additional complexity that we don't need, with room for people to understandably disagree otherwise. But that being said, I'm going to be in favor of this article, even though I do believe that we could have done things to have reined in the price a little bit more. But yeah, there we go.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we will move to a vote. Melanie, you have to, I know you're going to abstain. but-
Board abstain.
Bradley, yes?
Dolan, yes?
Eagle, no.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Moretti, yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 0. Sorry, 6, 1, 1.
Right.
Come on, I know, stop it, I'm watching you.
Gotta keep an
I'm
eye on
watching
me.
that pen.
611, Paul.
Okay, we now move on to Article number 35, which is the citizens petition for Indigenous Peoples' Day.
I move the Finance Committee recommend this article be defeated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Mike, am I correct that the Select Board chose not to support the article?
That's correct.
If I remember correctly, the Select Board is the body who appointed the committee to go do the study. And the committee was to report back to the Select Board. And so I've got other reasons why I don't think it's a good idea, but given that the Select Board was the appointing authority, they commissioned the committee, and they're saying, yeah, it's a great idea, but we don't support your proposal. To me, that's a fatal flaw.
This wasn't from the committee.
No. The committee was put together on the orders of the Select Board. The Select Board was the appointing authority.
Right, but
So
the
the
committee
committee-
didn't bring this motion.
The committee's not bringing the motion?
No.
No.
No,
This
it's
is a citizen's petition.
No, I understand, but I believe the citizen petition was I was under the impression that if the committee's not bringing the petition, then it just reinforces my vote that it's not appropriate.
That's
We had
fine
a-
too. I just didn't want you saying the wrong thing.
We appointed a committee to do this stuff.
Okay.
Again, amongst other things, the Select Board last August or September, I forget which it was, recommended to the committee that was to investigate this issue, that they hold listening sessions. To my knowledge, those listening sessions were never held. So you get, again, the committee who was empowered to go investigate this, whether this was a good thing for Westborough to do or not, didn't do that. They're not coming back. This is some other group of folks coming back, not empowered by the town particularly, not following a process, not following a due diligent process that is tied in with the town governing structure.
I disagree. It's a citizen's petition. That's entirely following the town structure, not going by what the town set up for its own way of doing things. But Hank, I take exception to the notion that a citizen's petition is not following the town structure.
I didn't say that. I said this citizen's petition is addressing an issue that the town had put in place a process to address. And it's not a good idea to encourage citizens to bypass the processes that are being put in place by the community to deal with the community's issues.
So I'd like to offer another perspective, and that is that, in a nutshell, this committee not deal with this article, but rather refer it to the town meeting for their collective decision. And here's why. I think the article is outside our lane as a committee. Now, I know what the bylaws say, that all articles come to this committee. But generally speaking, when we get articles that aren't specific to a notion of finance, we deal with them. But this, to me, trying to find a financial reason to vote on this article is a stretch. And I think, based on, I'm going to take the words right out of the bylaws, in the best interests of the citizens of Westborough, or the town and its citizens, that we not vote on this article. Look, we're dealing, folks, with a contemporary political and ideological issue. I'm in no way being critical of the petitioner's motivation or intent, but I think this is more political and ideological than it is financial. In fact, I know it's not financial. And I don't think we as a committee should be put in a position where we're commenting on a political or ideological subject. The Board of Selectmen, which is an elected body, has already made their feelings known. I just don't like the thought of this committee being dragged in to that kind of argument. And so I think I would leave it to the collective judgment of our voters in the town meeting to make a decision on this article. I don't think the way the Board of Selectmen or we recommend they vote is going to make much difference. I think they're going to vote how they feel. Walter.
Okay, well, aside from this particular article, I don't agree with your premise of us not voting on non-financial articles. We're the Advisory Finance Committee. Advisory is another word. We vote on articles like zoning and other things that have nothing to do with finance all the time. And so I don't want to be, I'm not objecting to maybe doing what you want to do with this, but I object to the concept that we wouldn't necessarily make recommendations on non-financial articles.
I agree, I understand what you're saying, and we do make recommendations, but we could generally find a financial impact on on most of those articles. This is one, I believe, one of the rare occasions where this is, political and ideological, and I just am really uncomfortable with this committee making a recommendation one way or another.
And
I will
also-
defer to you folks. If you want to deal with it, go ahead.
Well,
I just don't.
we also hadn't, in all cases, it's up to town meeting to vote
Correct.
anyway. All we would do is make a recommendation, which is probably some split vote of some sort anyway, and it just would maybe reflect the town, but one of the reasons I don't object to at least waiting to town meeting for even deciding if we wanted to vote on this is the motion itself, as Mr. Arnold sent today. It's not been solidified yet, and that also is an important part of this particular article.
There is a precedent that has been done before where the Finance Committee had dramatically split votes on an article, that didn't have anything like a majority opinion. And we presented our vote, and then an explanation of the majority opinion and explanation of the minority opinion were offered on town meeting floor as part of the Finance Committee's report out, and we could do that.
We can do that. I threw it out there as
But
another
I-
option,
too.
but
But I would suggest, first thing we ought to do is vote on the motion.
we'll vote on the motion.
If we then want to have another motion, say, well, what we really, the way we report out on town meeting floors, we want to follow some reporting process, that would be another conversation.
Any other
I just have
discussion? Paul?
Yeah, Michael, I think what you said, I was not thinking that way at all, and I'm glad you said that because I totally agree with you. In my mind, we have no special expertise on this article, and it's nothing to do with finances. And all the others, I think, really do somehow impact financing, almost all of them, indirectly or direct or otherwise. So I think that's a really good recommendation. So I'll vote to on this motion. I'll vote.
Well, we have to vote on the motion first.
Yeah, Yeah, okay, let me think about that.
Can I
Thank
offer
you.
an alternative, or would you rather not hear it till after you vote?
Well,
I'd
John,
like to hear.
I don't know, you folks all
I
open?
have just a comment.
All right, Melanie wants to make a comment
That's
first,
fine.
John.
Okay.
Okay, so I went back and rewatched that particular portion of that meeting. And because sometimes we don't always catch all the nuances because we're sitting here and we're doing a lot of things. And the one thing that resonated with me was the fact that when asked whether indigenous people who currently live in this community were polled or had a response or had input, and the response was no, well, then how important could it be if you didn't even seek out those it's supposedly affecting?
It's a compromise, is the way she positioned that they are not in favor of it, and then other people are on the other side, and she's going for a compromise in the middle, but, so it's not really, anyhow, that's a reason that I thought it made some sense, but I think Michael makes even more sense.
And we all will have a vote on town meeting floor, just as individuals, and maybe, like you said, maybe that's the best way to put it, if there's no expertise particularly, or if people really look to us for this, I don't know.
Well,
Again, again, my comment is the finance committee is a subcommittee of the town meeting. And our task is to expose and explore the issues that are being brought before town meeting, whether they have financial impacts or not, whether they have obvious financial impacts or not. And it's our job, it's our mission and job to provide an opinion. And to then comment about that opinion and support why that opinion is we believe is appropriate. If that means that we have two positions on it, let that be as it may.
you know, I understand the process. I guess my sensitivity is that this is such a hot, I'm not going to use that word. This is such a contemporary, divisive issue that I don't want to see this committee be put in a position where, frankly, that somebody is trying to leverage us into supporting something that,
We may take popular opinions, we may undertake unpopular
yeah,
opinions.
I understand that.
I'm just a little confused now, though, if you
Opinions.
if you wanted to vote that we weren't gonna vote, do you defeat this
Yeah,
motion?
you would
or
have
do
to
you not defeat the motion, or?
You have to defeat,
Defeat the motion that's on the floor, and then that makes.
So you
room
might
for
defeat
an
the
alternate
motion
vote.
even if you were in favor of voting against
That's
it,
right.
say, or
If you
something.
defeat the motion on the floor, then an alternative.
Just trying to
oh,
sort
alternative.
through this
Alternative
so
motion
people
has to
know
be
how.
made.
Wait, we're talking over each other. One at a time. Come on. John, I'm going to hold off on your recommendation until we vote on this motion.
All right, I wasn't going to make a recommendation. I was just going to mention some alternatives and just could chime in on the recommendation, but that's fine. I'm not here to tell you how to vote. I'm just here to give you alternatives if you
Yeah.
want them.
Michael?
Go ahead, Paul.
Technical thing, so the motion is to defeat this. If we vote against defeating it because we don't want to, I don't think we have to even report that vote because it's not on the article.
That's correct. I mean, if we vote to defeat the motion that's on the floor, we're voting to not recommend defeating. We're not voting, we have not yet voted to recommend approving. We have to
Right.
vote again. We have to get another motion that explains what our position is. So at the moment, we're saying our position, we're voting on the position that we should recommend the town meeting defeat the article.
So, and thanks, Hank, because I was thinking, do I abstain on this or do I vote?
Can't we make another motion to remove this motion?
You gotta vote on this motion before you make any more. You can amend the motion if you want, but you have to vote on
Yeah,
the
can we-
amendment then.
Okay.
Was it seconded?
It was seconded. I mean, the simplest thing to do is vote on this motion, and then if it's defeated, you figure out what to do next.
Yeah, so what you do next could be not have another motion or have a motion.
Or have a motion to not vote, or to
Or we
pass
could
it
have a
Could do
on.
that
motion
too.
says we're gonna take and we have to take a position. Have to take some position. The position can be that we don't wanna take a position. But that's sort of
Well-
That's a position.
That is it,
The position could be that we're gonna
Switzerland.
offer our position on town meeting floor.
not to decide is to decide.
You gotta take a position.
All right, so let's vote on the motion, which is to defeat the article. We have a second. Melanie?
Board, yes.
Bradley, no.
Dolan, no.
Eagle, no.
Leslie, no.
Roush, yes?
Siddiqui, no.
Moretti, no. Okay, I would like to make a motion.
Fails.
Motion
1,
fails.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead.
Okay, ready?
Yep, 2 to 6.
Okay, so I move that in the best interest of the town and its citizens, the Advisory Finance Committee take no action on the citizens petition incorporated in Article 35 and refer it to the annual town meeting for their collective decision.
So that is,
Is there a second?
Brady.
I second if nobody else has, like, I didn't hear.
Okay, nobody has.
Bugle.
Bugle. Discussion?
I would strike the element of the motion, or I'd amend the motion to remove the fact that we're leaving it to the town to decide, because I think, as the point was already made, the town's going to decide. Ours is only, suggestive. Our input's only directional.
So what you would have the motion read then is that in the best interest of the town and its citizens, the Advisory Finance Committee take no action on the citizens petition incorporated in Article 35, period.
I would say
I think
Makes no recommendation, how
makes
about?
no recommendation.
Okay,
The Advisory Finance Committee makes no recommendation
Which is all we're doing.
for
anyway,
town meeting
yes.
action on the motion,
okay,
on the article, on the warrant article.
okay.
If you could give me that.
I will.
later, that'd be good.
John, I'd be real interested what you think some of the alternatives might be.
Now, that was my next question.
Okay, yeah, it's similar to what Mike just said. So again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to offer alternatives. I also wanted to say that, to me, the bylaw for the Advisory Finance Committee is clear, is that the bylaw asks the committee to review and make recommendations on all articles in the warrant. So I just wanted, I mean, it's been mentioned a number of times, and not just here, I've heard it in other towns, but the role of our particular Advisory Finance Committee is to do a deeper dive into the articles and to make a recommendation to town meeting. So I just wanted to make that clear. There is nothing, although I understand the argument that says almost all articles do have a financial impact, the committee is supposed to make a recommendation of some sort. So with that said, I will give you my Weasley recommendation as I listen to your discussion. And I think this is one you may consider, but it's somewhat close to what Mike said. However, in terms of allowing the committee to make a recommendation, an alternative that sprang to my mind, if it's what the committee wants to do, is to say the committee recognizes that this is a non-binding, that there is no binding action by this article, and the committee recommends that each voter listen to the arguments for and against and vote what they think is in the best interests of the town.
That's pretty good.
I think that's pretty good. Does anybody,
Does the article clearly
Make a
say-
motion, that's just a way I would phrase sort of where Mike was going with it still being a recommendation, asking the voters to essentially give it their attention
Okay.
and vote their conscience, in different words.
Yeah, I mean, the motion, that implies that the motion that will be offered on the town meeting floor is substantially different than what's in the warrant.
No, it isn't.
And I guess, I'm
Well,
really
I mean, if-
uncomfortable if, we don't know, I'm uncomfortable taking that vote before we know what the motion is.
Okay.
Because the town meeting, the article on the town meeting is fairly straightforward. It says we're gonna recognize, Indigenous Peoples' Day.
And everything I've heard, and I'm waiting to get the final wording from town council, and as is written in the town manager's statement, is that it's a non-binding vote because the town meeting, essentially, my understanding is the wording is likely to be that it's a resolution of town meeting that essentially is just saying these voters here and now either do or don't agree with this. But the town meeting doesn't designate holidays, and that's not a legislative power. So, but I totally understand your point, Hank. If you want to not vote on that until you see what the motion is, then I totally understand. But I've heard
I'm
no
now at
one
the
make a
point
claim
where
that they believe this is a binding action.
This is so confusing that I can't make an intelligent vote, and I'm gonna wanna wait till I see the motion on town meeting floor.
Any other comments? Paul?
The only thing I'd say about that, that's fine too, but I don't think, I'd like to say in advance that I'd like to avoid us taking our own vote at the table type of thing and reporting it out. I think we should stick with, as voters, individual voters. Because I think we should avoid those last minute table.
I agree,
things
Paul, but
whenever
the
we can.
petitioner has been totally unclear. I mean, there's a clear warrant article that's been posted. And what John is suggesting is that in his conversations with the petitioner intends to make a motion that is substantially different than what's in the warrant.
I don't think so. She wouldn't be allowed to,
Oh,
Yes.
you're allowed to make something that's
Well-
different.
not substantially.
Well, I mean, saying that it's just some kind of an opinion poll is different than saying that the town's gonna recognize.
Well, again, I'm not trying to change your mind, Hank. I'm just saying that the motion is, my understanding, and I'll let you know once I get it finalized, my understanding is and again, don't cast aspersions on the petitioner. I'm the one who's essentially trying to help the petitioner find out what the right motion is. And I'm the one who's asked the town manager, who's asked town council to say, okay, how does one craft a motion that will be clear from a legal point of view about what it actually does. And so far, the feedback I've gotten is that it's going to come back in the form of a motion that indicates that it's a non-binding resolution. And I totally understand if you want to hear town council say that. I'm just saying that I don't think that's substantially different. I'm just trying to help the petitioner and the town have a clear motion before them that clarifies what the actual action that the town meeting can take on the wording that's in the petition is.
Well, John, I've got a motion on the floor that has not been voted on. And I think we have to make a decision on that motion. Could you give me those words again, that we recognize that this is a non-binding resolution? Go ahead.
I'll try to type them in the chat, okay?
I don't have
We
access
have
to
no
the
access to
chat.
the chat here.
Okay, well,
In
I
the
will try
room.
to say it again.
Okay.
So again, I'm not making this motion. The wording, I
understand
believe
that.
Mike,
yeah, okay.
does it ma-
Yeah,
does it
so
matter
the
if-
wording, so Walter can try to get it down, and I will try to say what I think I said out loud before I
Okay,
say.
hang on one second, John.
Matter of procedure,
Yes,
if you were to choose to withdraw the motion, that would take it off the floor, and we wouldn't have to vote on it. And that's a simple way to change the motion.
That's true.
yeah, okay, I withdraw the motion.
But do you want to try and make a new motion with this
Yes,
language? Okay,
and I
so-
would like a new motion. And John, I'm going to ask you just to recommend that language, please.
Yeah, sure. I will try to say what I think I said before, and I'll try to make it also clearer that it explains what I believe I'm hearing is the committee's position. So I will say it essentially. The motion would be not by me making. I'm going to say I move, but I'm going to say that as the wording for the motion. I'm going to give you the potential wording of I move that the Advisory Finance Committee, with the understanding that this is a non-binding action by town meeting, recommend that the voters listen to the arguments made with regard to this.
Hey,
this
John, we don't
article.
take shorthand. You gotta go a little slower.
Listen to arguments, yeah.
Listen to arguments and vote what they believe is in the best interests of the town.
All right. Have you got all of that?
Almost. I'll read it back. Interest of town. Okay.
And I've tried to make it clear that this is just to help the committee decide whether they want to vote on it tonight or not. I emphasize the words that this vote is based on an understanding that it's a non-binding action.
Right.
Correct.
And then the committee can hear that from town council either at or before town meeting.
Okay.
So
So,
I
Walter,
believe
why
it would
don't-
go like this. I move the AFC with understanding this is a non-binding article to recommend town meeting listen to arguments and vote what they see as best for the town.
What they feel is, what they believe is in the best interest of the
Yeah,
town.
believe.
So, I just got a text from one of our select board members, and trying to explain why this is non-binding, and it is because the town meeting has no authority over personnel policies.
Yeah,
I will let it stand at that.
okay, yeah, that's fine
That's
with
it.
me.
We are a hybrid meeting, and it's open, so. Okay, Walter, since I probably can't read your handwriting, do you want
Can't
to,
even read mine, but I
would
move.
you make the motion?
I move the AFC with understanding this is a non-binding article, recommend the town meeting listen to arguments and vote what they believe is in the best interest of the town.
Is there a second?
Second,
All right, any more discussion? And this is exactly what I was getting to when I said, I don't think we should be taking any action on this stuff. So, but anyway, any other discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Melanie?
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, no.
Eagle, yes?
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Dig, yes.
Moretti, yes.
All right, 7-1-0.
John, thank you for your help. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Okay, moving on. We may be leaning on you a little bit tonight, John.
I know.
Moving on to Article 36. John, you have some information?
Yes, I was able to get in touch with the petitioner, and let's see from the email that I'm not sure all of you had time to read. He has confirmed that he intends to make a motion to pass over this article and says he plans to be there and make that motion, and I will give him the opportunity to explain why he's making it. But as people I was able to confirm what people had reported, which is that after the petitioner's meeting with the select board, that they have decided to not move forward with this at this time. So the motion will be to pass over.
And so would we we recommend the
John,
town support the
pass
motion,
over?
pass over?
Pass
Yes,
over,
Brad-
a motion to pass over has the effect of defeating the motion, defeating the article, correct?
Yes, it's essentially to take no action, that's right.
Okay. So we need to make a motion to pass over that the
we
town meeting
recommend.
pass over.
Well, you
Okay.
you recommend that the town meeting pass over.
I move that we recommend the town pass over Article 36 is printed in the warrant.
36 or 37?
Okay,
That's
Dolan,
36.
second.
it's 36.
Bradley, second.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? Let's go to a vote. Melanie?
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes?
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Dig, yes.
Moretti, yes.
8-0-0. Okay. Plastic.
Okay, Article 37. And
Well,
we got a long email from John, and I don't know if everybody had a chance to see that, but John,
Yeah, you want me to explain?
would
Yes,
you
okay,
please
so anyway.
review it with us?
Yep. So 37, relatively straightforward. I know you met with the petitioner, so this one relatively straightforward. This one, I expect the motion to be that the petitioner is going to move that the town vote to amend Article 33 of the town bylaws, plastic bag reduction, using the text as printed in the warrant, where the strike-throughs indicate deletion from and the bold italics represent additions to the current bylaw. So that one relatively straightforward if you have the warrant in front of you.
Anybody want to make a motion on this article?
Maybe we should discuss before we move.
I move the
We're gonna
Finance Committee
discuss.
recommend the town meeting defeat the article as printed in the warrant.
Is there a second to that?
Siddiqui second.
Siddiqui?
Siddiqui, second.
Ouch. Siddiqui.
Thank you, Zafar. Discussion.
So I am, first of all, very impressed that the citizen put together this thing, and I'm pretty much in favor of almost everything in there. But I am very concerned about unintended consequences and the lack of timing by this appearing so quickly as to discover what this really means in real tangible terms to these places in terms of what they can buy now, what they can get, what's the cost impact. And I would be a whole lot more comfortable with this if it, because I think you like saying, Mike, we have a duty to be informed and make informed decisions. And while I'm supportive of getting rid of a lot of plastic, and I don't use a lot of it myself, I am concerned that just passing this as written and having, bylaws edited like this, to me, it's not the best way to go. But I do applaud the effort, and I hope that someday we can get to these things.
Other comments?
Yeah, I share a
Hank,
lot
you're
of-
going to have to go into
I
the
share a
mic.
lot of Walter's opinions, particularly that there are likely to be a large number of unintended consequences that we're not aware of. I'm not supportive of petitions of this sort that have not withstood the process of public review, listening sessions, public presentations, the opportunity for the public in general, and oh, by the way, the impacted entities like the stores and the businesses in town to make their opinion known before we vote on it. But I also have serious concerns about technical issues embedded in there. It names the Board of Selectmen as the enforcement authority. The Board of Selectmen is not really an executive, it's an executive branch of government, but it delegates its executive powers for enforcement sorts of things to other town departments. I'm not aware that any of the other town departments are prepared to deal with enforcing the ordinance. We haven't heard their opinions. So there's a whole set of consequences for how this will impact town departments for enforcement that we're not aware of. Secondly, it uses the term biodegradable. To the best of my knowledge, there's no generally accepted scientific definition of what biodegradable means. Does that mean it will degrade in a waste dump in 100 years, or 5 years, or 1 year, or 6 months? So there's no real definition of an important criteria that the materials be biodegradable. Well, again, without a clear definition of that, you don't have any idea how to enforce it. It's like saying we have a speed limit,
I
but
will
we're not
say-
gonna tell you what it is.
Hank, in the article, I'll just point out, he did define it in the bylaws. So biodegradable means toxin-free and capable of being decomposed by bacteria and other living
But
organisms.
it didn't specify what kind of bacteria, how long,
True,
any
but
of
it
the other things.
does have a definition.
It also didn't deal with the issue that at the present time, pretty much all of our waste goes to Wheelabrator. And so it'd be wonderful to put biodegradable waste into that waste stream, but it's gonna go to Wheelabrator, which means it's gonna be burned, okay, by the
Yeah.
way, Wheelabrator.
It's a,
Wheelabrator's got a big old
creates
furnace out
electricity
there.
out of burning trash.
We don't have waste dumps anymore, so that if we successfully enforce the ordinance, we have no way of taking advantage of the positive effects of it by putting the plastics that are so made available into a compostable form. So it's a great idea, but it's so incomplete and unenforceable, it has so many unintended consequences. We really shouldn't be supporting something that we don't understand what it's gonna mean and how it's gonna be implemented and what the definitions are. You shouldn't be doing that.
Any other comments, Andrew?
Just a couple up there.
Yeah, I think the crux of these next two motions are that there's an interest by some to make the recycling needs or the plastic needs lower in the town, and I totally get that, and I'm in favor of it, as other people have been here. I think that it is very difficult to get places like the Department of Health and the Select Board and folks like that to be able to listen to a petitioner who has an interest in doing these sorts of things and for whom these sorts of efforts are easily waved away and not taken seriously and not taken up by people who might be doing it. And in that regard, voting for this article would compel people to address the concern, and it's a very good one and a very valid one. All of that being said, I agree with Hank about some of the details and the implementation elements, and I think it needs to be thought through a little bit more, and I would want to hear that there was a certain level of unresponsiveness from this town to be able to take this up the right way, because I think it is something that the town shares an interest in doing, potentially in some way, but I don't know that this is the best way to execute on it, unfortunately. So.
Zafir?
Yeah, it is such a complex issue and it's hard to enforce. And I agree with Raj said a few things. I believe in reducing the plastic, but in totality. A plastic bag is a small, minuscule portion of the total plastic out in the market, including water bottles, and every packaging at every store is a big part of the plastic. So one day there'll be a scientific breakthrough whether it becomes biodegradable plastic in a short period of time. That will be the day.
Yeah. Tom and then John. John, are you going to clarify something?
Yes.
Okay. Tom, do you mind holding until
No,
John
Tom
makes...
can go first. I just wanted to make two comments. But
All
Tom
right,
can
go
go
ahead.
first. He's a
Go ahead,
committee member.
Tom.
I'd
Tom?
lower my hand. Go for it, John. I defer
Okay.
to your.
I just wanted to make two comments, again, just offering some suggestions. First of all, I just wanted to offer one because I spent a good deal of time not only working on trying to help the petitioner, but talking to the petitioner directly. So the first thing I wanted to mention is the enforcement of the Board of Selectmen. Actually, the reason I noticed when I read this myself that it says Board of Selection and not Select Board is that the current bylaw 33 all has that. That wording did not change. So regardless of whether the town meeting takes any action on this or not, the existing bylaw with no changes does say that the Board of Selectmen or their designee are the enforcement. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's not the petitioner's doing. And the other thing that I wanted to get, again, just in the sense of, because I got the sense that a few committee members want to essentially applaud the effort to do this, but are not necessarily in approval of the way it's been done, would be an alternative to defeating the article would be to essentially refer the article to the Board of Health or some other board that could essentially take it to that level of rigor and inspection that some have suggested. So I just wanted to offer those 2 points.
Well, Tom, do you want to jump in?
John's second point was exactly answered. What I was going to ask was where fundamentally I support the intent of the article, reducing plastic, for a variety of reasons, but I think this draft of the article isn't quite something that I would be comfortable supporting. However, I'd like to hear maybe John again, or Mike, you could reiterate how the board could lend some support to the sentiment and encourage the article to take next steps to get to a second, third, fourth draft that we could eventually approve.
Walter?
I don't want to cut the legs out. I like the enthusiasm, but it needs more work.
Walter?
So I'm under the understanding there's a group called Zero Waste Westborough, which right now is working on some kind of trash pickup in town, house to house or whatever. And that, you know, one of those groups, our petitioner said the reason he did it now, because I asked, instead of going through that group, was they're busy on this other project and he wanted to do it now. But that may be the correct group to
John?
look at it.
John,
Yes,
comment?
I honestly, I mean, I've heard of Zero Waste Westborough. I don't know if they're an official town committee or not, and I don't have
know
my
that either.
town guide here. But just to partially answer Tom's question, there is a motion that can be made that's essentially to refer an article to a committee. It can't be to a non-town committee, and I'm looking up the details now. But there is a motion that could be made to refer the article to a committee, and it essentially takes it out of the town. If passed, that motion takes the article out of town meeting's hands and asks the committee to further investigate. And then either the committee or, of course, if the petitioner wants to come back with another petition, they can do that again. And I will just mention, I think it was before COVID, I believe. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Another person came forward with a citizen petition having to do with an environmental concern. And at that time, I believe it was referred, I think it was referred to the Board of Health, but I'd have to look that up. So
I
so
think it
there
was
is
the
a
first
motion that is
plastic,
allowed to refer to committee.
I think it was the first plastic bag that
Yeah, it might have been.
we're
it might have been
editing
this one,
here.
Actually, yeah, it sounded familiar. I haven't had a chance to look up the history of this one
Yeah,
yet, so.
the first
Melanie?
plastic bag, the existing plastic bag bylaw did originate as a citizen's petition. I do believe it was referred to a committee and then brought back when it was properly structured and such. I'm not totally surprised that the Board of Health, it doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with this, but, I mean, it's not clear to me that plastic bags are a dominant part of the waste stream and are the sweet spot to attack first. My guess is there are other places to attack that will have far more environmental impact. But I don't have any data to support that conclusion. It's just my engineering judgment.
Paul's gonna-
Melanie?
I guess as I listen, I'm with everybody else with regard to plastics. However, I feel like in this economic climate, some of the very businesses that have been hit so hard during COVID, you're going to ding them again with regard to what they're using to get product out. In addition to that, let's say they don't take the financial impact and they pass it on to the consumer. That prevents people from doing those things that keep businesses alive, like going out to eat. It's going to trickle down, as it always does. And I think people are struggling enough as it is. You know, great in theory, great. I just don't know if it's great in practice at this time.
Paul?
Since it's advisory, I don't think we need to know exactly what committee. I mean, I think we can either say the appropriate committee, or if that's not specific enough, say the Board of Health. And then it's only advisory, so whatever the motion is that ends up on the floor, if someone say follow, either one of us or another member of the town, voters, whatever it is, there could be enough
That's good to know.
discussion on that floor to find out what the right committee would be before there's a vote.
Yeah, the
So-
motion would have to include the committee, but if it turns out that somebody proposes the wrong one and somebody makes an argument for another one, somebody could make a motion to amend the motion to a
Chris-
different
Yeah,
committee.
so I don't think we need to
The
know
initial
exactly what
motion to
committee.
refer, I'm reading it now. The
Come on.
official motion to
Yeah.
refer to committee has to specify a committee.
So let's say the Board of Health.
Gentlemen, it's the first time I've ever used a gavel. Thank you.
What's the matter?
Christy Williams just advised me that Zero Waste Westborough is not a town committee.
So we couldn't refer it to them.
If I could, I mean, on town meeting floor, any member of this committee, any other voter at town meeting could propose an amendment to whatever motion's put forward to refer this article to an appropriate committee, and they would have to specify the committee, as John said. That can be accomplished by any individual on town meeting floor. I'm confident that some other mental giant beside me will figure that out, and that will happen. So I don't think we need to particularly try to make that happen unless we're willing to, unless we as a committee want to stand up and say, we will make a motion, we will make an amendment to the motion on the floor. So I would treat it as it is, straightforward, and rely upon either an individual from this committee or someone else to make an amendment on town meeting floor.
John,
Yep.
you have your hand up.
Oh, that was to get my points in before. Sorry, I
Got
forgot to
stuck up.
lower it.
Andrew,
Sorry about that. I'll try to lower it.
Andrew?
Thank you. While I understand what Hank's trying to say, I think we have an opportunity to summarize what most of us on this committee have said, which is that we have an interest in this subject. It just needs to belong to the right group. And I think if the Department of Health has to prioritize this with other things, that they're prioritizing things all the time. So if we were to make a recommendation or a motion to recommend that this be sent to the Health Department, that makes sense in alignment with what a lot of folks here have said.
I'd just like to add my 2 cents here. I'm supportive of the concept, but I really do believe, as Hank pointed out, there are probably a lot of unintended consequences. We don't know what we don't know. And I'm concerned that if we just hand it or recommend that it be handed to a committee, that it be dealt with in a closed environment and not in an open, public way where not just our citizens have an opportunity to express their feelings about this, but the business community as well, because they're also going to be impacted.
Well, wouldn't that be the point of a public committee, though, so then it couldn't be in private?
Well, I
right?
think, yes, I agree, but it's got to be public and it's got to be open.
I agree, too.
And by the way, we do
Yeah,
have.
we're not recommending it for a committee to work on private in the dark. I mean,
No,
we're
no,
recommending
Andrew,
the
I'm
Board of
not
Health.
saying that. I'm just,
Yeah.
you
I
sometimes
understand.
things get, excuse me, buried in committees.
We do have a Board of Health, and their charter is to operate a waste management process for the community. They license the waste haulers in the community. They execute the contract with Wheelabrator. They execute the contract with Harvey to run the town transfer station. They're the logical function that has the resources to deal with this issue.
I have no objection for this to go to a committee. My concern, as you expressed, Hank, I'm just reiterating, is that it's an open and public forum so that everyone who is impacted has an opportunity to
If
participate.
it goes to the Board of Health, the Board of Health has to run an open
Okay.
and public process.
Fine with me. Thank you. Any other comments, discussion on the motion? Okay, so
Well,
as I understand it,
sorry.
we have,
The motion right now is to defeat.
is to defeat.
Yeah, I think we're beyond that. Most of us want to make a more positive statement than just defeat.
We could have that conversation when we have the conversation about what we put in the Finance Committee advisory, the R&R book advisory.
Right.
I mean, we could ask Mike to put a paragraph in there expressing our support for the concept of waste reduction, et cetera, in that report. That I would suggest that's an appropriate place to make that sort of commentary.
So you're saying where it says what the committee voted, there could be another little paragraph? In the R&R.
Defeating the motion, but in the front of the book, where we're talking about taxes and ARPA and all that stuff, we put in, we could, when we get to dealing with the book, put in a paragraph that says that the Finance Committee believes it's appropriate at this point in time for the town to deal with their waste management issues, including plastic bags and biodegradable plastic containers.
Everyone's going to see the say 900, 800, whatever it is. Not everyone's going to read that, especially, so I think it needs to be right with it.
With the vote?
Right? That we don't just have it's going to say, let's say it says defeat 800, whatever it might end up being, and then you got to go and find that where I don't think most people ever get to read all that detail.
We can also put commentary, just like the select board
Right.
puts commentary. We can put commentary after our vote if we prefer.
We would, that's,
But we have to put
That's,
a vote.
yeah,
That's,
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna
agree.
take the vote and put the commentary after.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's take the vote. So we have a
I guess
motion.
I'm just wondering why, if there's an option for us to defeat this motion and then to make a separate motion to recommend that the town recommend this article for the Board of Health. Like, why can't that be our motion?
Traditionally, the AFC has not made motions on town meeting floor, but any individual member of the AFC can make a motion on town meeting floor.
Oh, and
No, we're
now,
moving to recommend. I'm sorry. We could make a motion to recommend that the town vote to submit this article to the Board of Health.
We could recommend that somebody make a motion for that purpose, yeah.
we can make the advisory anytime, like right now.
But there's a difference between putting a statement in the R&R book and initiating a motion on town meeting floor.
Right, let's do it now.
Well, let's vote on,
Motion on town meeting floor now, we're not on town meeting floor.
It's advisory now.
So our
All right.
advice would have to be that someone makes a motion to move it.
I mean, a typical
Yeah,
advice
'cause there
would
is
be
no
that we
motion, yeah.
request that the chair of the Advisory Finance Committee, in the name of the Advisory Finance Committee, amend whatever motions put up on the floor to refer this to a committee or to the Board of Health.
I want to go on record now of our advice, and that is to
Let's vote on the
refer-
motion, then talk about what the written advice is.
I
Right,
think,
but-
yeah, we're going around in circles here. Let's vote on the motion, and then we can talk about the advice or the advisability of another motion. Okay? So the motion is to defeat the article, and there is a second.
Right, Rouch and Siddiqui.
Okay. So Melanie?
I don't know what I'm voting for. Board abstain.
Bradley, no.
Nolan abstain.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Moretti, yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to 1 to 2.
Now, with respect to our recommendation, I think we have two options. Option number one is to put a paragraph, and I think the best place to put it is right in the vote, right where the vote is recorded for the article.
I agree.
And because if we put it into the R&R narrative, I don't believe most people or a number of people that should see it are going to see it. So let's put it right where the vote is indicated for this particular article.
So could we,
The other option is that we have a motion to,
I think there's another option.
okay, go ahead, Hank.
Mike, this word. We could, as a finance committee, instruct the finance committee chair to request that when the motion's brought forward on the town meeting floor for this article, that the advisory finance committee chair ask for recognition by the moderator to elaborate on the position that the finance committee took, why they suggested that it be defeated. And at that point in time, you could stand up and you could say, the advisory finance committee, whatever you want to say, whatever it is we agree, we want you to say.
Putting words in my mouth, okay, I love
Well, I
that.
mean,
No,
one
I'm
way
just,
or I mean,
I'm just joking, just to get a little levity into,
I mean,
into
I
the
believe
conversation.
Then we were gonna be able
My
to agree
experience at
what
town
we
meeting,
wanted
that's a
you to
more
say.
impactful way of communicating than putting in the book, because half the people are illiterate.
Oh,
I didn't say that.
Ow.
At least they
Ouch.
They exhibit behavior
Not
that
go in the
indicates
minutes.
they're illiterate, they don't
No,
read the
it's-
book.
well, okay. Look, I'll, I don't know how you all feel. If you want to provide instructions to me to make a specific, to give a specific explanation, I'm happy to do that. If your preference is, or your pleasure is to put a statement in the R&R book where the vote is as to why we defeated the article.
I think, I mean, you could do both.
We could do both.
And just, because
Yeah, we
you could
could do
still be
both.
recognized to make a comment.
Why don't,
We think it needs more study, and if a motion was made to refer to a committee, we would support that.
okay.
I don't know that we should be into making the motion business.
Look,
So I move the Advisory Finance Committee request or empower the Finance Committee Chair to comment on town meeting floor about this warrant article, to communicate clearly that the Finance Committee supports the concept of waste reduction and supports the concept of
Oh, here you
using
go.
biodegradable materials, but we don't believe that we believe that the way to accomplish that is to refer the request to the Board of Health of the town of Westborough.
Second.
all right.
Did you get all
Thank you,
that?
Andrew. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote, please.
Board, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Nolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Moretti, yes.
So that is 8-0-0 on Article 37. You still got 38 to do.
Yes. Moving on to Article 38.
Okay,
Mr.
well,
Arnold,
37
you
was-
want to review your email, please?
Sure. So 37 was so much fun. I guess we'll repeat the fun with Article 38.
Wait till we-
I do want to mention, I wasn't able to find it while you were talking, but I want to remind the committee that they do make motions. The budget is actually a motion by the Finance Committee. And so I want to remind you that you do have the option to say that you recommend that an article be referred to committee without actually being the one who makes that motion. So that, just want to give you that option, because I'm pretty sure I did that once when I was on the Finance Committee. But anyway, Article 38, very similar, but it gets more complicated. If Article 37 is defeated, then the petitioner intends to go forward with Article 38 as a different alternative because it has different stuff in it. And as you recall from the time when you met with him, the Article 38 has to do with essentially extending the current bylaw by making it more plastic reduction than plastic bag reduction, and has text in it that essentially adds restaurants as being added to the set of affected establishments, and then removes some of the wording that would relate only to recyclable checkout bags, and adds that restaurants would have to use biodegradable material for containers and things like that when available. So there's going to be two options here. There's two typos that would have to be fixed, and one typo and one thing that I'm talking to him tomorrow that I think he left out. So if Article 37 is defeated, Article 38 will essentially go ahead with I believe what's going to be a similar motion, which is to use the text in the warrant where the strikeouts mean remove and the bold italic mean add, and then two things to fix. Now, if Article 37 passes, the proponent would like to essentially apply the changes that were made in Article 37 and essentially overlay the changes that you read in Article 38 to be additive to what the amended Article 33 will be. And I'm working out a detailed motion that will be cumbersome to read, but it's the only way I can think of to get it completely understood. And then I've been telling the petitioner, if that's what we have to do, then he will have to use his time to explain not only his intent, but to show that each of the changes, where it would be made and things like that. So that's how it will go, depending on what happens with Article 37 in terms of Article 38. And I will leave it to your discussion to determine what you want to do.
Okay, Paul?
And we bypass the exact same discussion and move right to a vote for I suggest instructions to the chair. Or alternatively, do the defeat and then do the instructions. I think it's the same, everything's the same.
Any other comments?
But I agree. I mean, I feel the same about both articles.
Can we simplify things by asking the chair to, when he makes his remarks about 37, indicate clearly that they also apply to 38? Since we
Yes.
don't know whether we don't know what we don't know what the requested action on number 38 will be. We don't know we will not know until town meeting floor
Correct.
what the proposal is. Let's just wrap it all up and, hey, whatever he says, that when he talks about 37, he talks about 37 and 38, here's our position. And in that light, I would then suggest I would make a motion that we recommend defeating Article 38.
Okay, is there a second?
Siddiqui, second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none,
Hold on, please.
move to a vote. Melanie?
This is to defeat the article.
This is to defeat the article.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Moretti, yes.
800. Okay.
Okay, and Walter, you're going to review the video so you can get the correct wording, please? Thank you.
On the motion, but we want to also, do we need to re-vote to extend your comments to this article too, or?
No, I think.
I don't feel so.
I don't think so.
Okay, because I think that whole discussion was
That was
generally on
finished.
both of them at once anyway, so. Okay,
Okay,
comfortable with that.
we are done with voting on the articles.
We finished the budget before, right?
We finished the budget before. We are all done. Walter, that information, the tally, has to be in, if you can't get it in by tomorrow to Sheila, it's got to get to her by Monday.
Okay.
So she can drop it.
So, Paul, you'll send us when you're done, and then I'll check it against mine, and then we can pass it on either tomorrow or Monday. Yep,
Okay.
to Sheila.
Yeah.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a review of the draft R&R message that I sent to all of you. I've already gotten some feedback from Walter. And I know there are some typos and stuff in the draft, so. But I guess my real concern is, are there any thoughts, one way or another, about the actual messaging? By the way, just to let you know, I spent time here this morning fact-checking all of the financial information. So we're accurate.
I guess one thing I didn't put in my comments, but thinking out loud is, to some degree, we as a committee, I believe, have supported the level of service we have in this town, and this budget supports that level of service. Because I think the only way to have a lower budget is have a lower level of service.
Correct. Well, I think I
And I don't,
incorporated
recall whether
words to
that's
that effect
a
in
little bit, but
the
yeah.
narrative, yeah. Any other comments, please?
Yeah,
Hank?
under the heading, total town operating budget,
Yes.
see Article 4. I believe we got apples and oranges mixed in here, because the lead-in sentence says, line item spends has been impacted, key drivers of increases which impact tax bills for FY '22 include.
Okay, wait a minute, where, give it to me
Yeah,
again?
about 4 pages in, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
It's
all
under
right,
the
I got
heading,
it, go ahead,
Total town operating budget.
yeah,
The first list of things, school funding,
Yep.
general fund, et cetera, insurance, Worcester County retirement.
Yeah.
Those are all expenses that go into the levy.
Yep.
The last two are not expenses that go into the levy.
they're out, they've been eliminated from this.
Oh, okay, the
Yeah.
draft I have shows those.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
as I said, we're doing some of that fact-checking this morning.
Right, okay.
Okay, so that's
So
been
that's
taken out.
gone.
Yeah.
What are the things that are taken out? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I know. Well, those two items, capital, let me go down and
Capital.
give you what I have.
Capital
There
improvement,
was
not
nothing
borrow.
within the numbers per se. If you go to expenditures and revenues, that was taken out, other than looking under total town operating budget, the bottom two items on that list were edited out, which is capital improvement offset and non-borrow warrant articles. They were edited out because they don't belong there. They're not part of the expenditures.
Sorry, I dropped out. Did you mention what the bottom two are?
Yes, Paul, capital improvement offsets and
Okay.
non-borrow warrant articles.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right.
And it, you know,
And then if, excuse me, Hank, just to continue with this particular, these two particular items, we've added in, it says total proposed FY '23 expenditures of X dollars is a 5.9% increase over the FY '22. And it added in, this would include non-borrow warrant articles, if approved, and capital improvement offsets, which do not impact the tax rate.
okay.
All right?
Did you put a number onto what? No,
Yeah.
it's too detailed.
There is a number there.
Uh,
Anything else, Hank?
Yeah, we're, under the federal aid,
Yes.
we're quoting school department numbers?
No, we've taken that out because they're using ESSER funds and they're splitting them between 2 fiscal years.
Okay, good, I agree with that. I think us trying to speak for the school department who has independent expenditure authority
Yeah.
is gonna be too complex.
Not gonna do it. Anything else, Hank?
That's all I had seen right away.
Anybody else? Any comments? Paul?
My comment is just that I thought it was excellent. Every time as I was reading it, if I thought, oh, something's missing here, it showed up the next paragraph. So I think it's great. Thank you. It's very well written, too.
Thank you. Andrew?
Very much in support of much of what was written. May I send you some tweaks and clarifications? It's mostly just language and cleanup.
Sure, please
May I
do.
send that this evening? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have it this evening.
Yeah, if you give it to me this evening, you know, I probably am not going to get the entire document to Sheila until Monday morning, so I can polish it over the weekend.
Okay, so I move to approve the Advisory Finance Committee booklet as amended and edited at tonight's meetings with provision that typographic and formatting changes, including verifying the consistent and correct use of amounts which do not impact the substance, can be made by the chair, vice chair, or his/her designee.
Is there a second?
Second,
Mr. Rouch seconds. Any more discussion? Andrew, is your hand up, or is it just kind of left there from before?
Kind of left there. Let me pull it down. Sorry.
That's all right. Okay, we'll go to a vote. Melanie?
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes?
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiqui, yes.
Moretti, yes.
800.
Thank you.
Mike,
Thank you, folks.
in the past, we've, as a committee, authorized the expenditure to get the book printed and indicated the number of copies to be printed. I think we have to authorize the expenditure.
We have to authorize the expenditure. I had a conversation about that today. It looks like we're going to be up around 450, 500 copies. That's what they're anticipating.
Will the budget cover it?
We've got, in fact, hang on a sec, I've got that number right here. We have, right now, about $661.70 to be specific, and we may need to transfer some funds.
Well, since we haven't expended the salary and wages, can we just move those over?
We could do that, yeah.
And will that be enough to cover the printing?
Oh, there's over $4,000 in there.
Right.
That'll be
Shouldn't we
enough.
just wait till we know the cost, though?
Well,
Well, you can't, because you won't know the cost till you tell them how many copies. And once you tell them how many copies, Mike can do the math.
I'm gonna have to. We could
I
just
would find
authorize.
Oh, we can vote to
expenditure.
authorize that you print
Expenditure.
500, up to 500 copies, And then
Authorize
the,
number of copies.
yeah, instead of the dollar amount, because that
Again,
seems
as long as
crazy.
we're not authorizing a deficit spend.
Right.
We
Andrew, you
can
were gonna
move
say
money
something?
we can move money from that one line to the other, because all the other departments are required to come either before us or the town to do
Well,
that.
we'd be referring to ourselves.
Okay, I thought
We,
maybe
we would have
take
to
it out.
vote for that, yeah.
We would have to vote for it
Yeah,
Probably fill out a form.
and fill out a form.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? I just
It
love
doesn't
it.
seem
Okay,
like
so
we
would
should
you,
be able to vote on
Walter,
that
would
roll.
you go ahead and,
I move the Advisory Finance Committee authorizes the town to purchase up to 500 copies of the R&R for the annual town meeting.
is there a second?
Bradley, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Melanie?
Board, yes.
Bradley, yes?
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes?
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiq, yes.
Moretti, yes.
800.
800. Okay, any liaison reports? Hank, do you want to mention
Just
about
that
the
Mike
request?
and I are scheduled to meet with the DPW director and the DPW finance person on Thursday afternoon to sort out the current snow and ice situation, and we'll also solicit any intelligence that's available from the town manager on other potential transfers, so that so we can put together a data set that will allow us to support why we want $87,000.
Well, actually, they asked for another 50,000.
They did,
Yes,
but our current ask is 87.
correct. We have to modify, we may have to modify that ask.
Right, we may have to increase that ask.
I
actually.
think
So-
I think we're required to vote on this request from the DPW for the additional 50,000.
Yeah, I won't do any harm.
But we
I
have the
move
form now?
It wasn't done by form, it's always done
Oh.
by email,
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, so it's not like the other transfers?
correct.
Oh, and we authorized
We
some
are-
more
we-
before,
yeah,
right?
we did.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
got
move
it.
we authorize the transfer of $50,000.
I didn't realize this was
I
coming.
move we authorize the deficit spending of $50,000 by the DPW for snow and ice expenses. This will drive the deficit spend to $150,000 for the year.
Possible.
Yeah. Our current reserve fund balance, just for the information of everybody, is 164,703.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna end up,
And they are gonna go into a deficit based on the numbers that I saw this morning. Further into a deficit.
Yep.
They're already in a deficit right now of about $4,500.
Yeah, my understanding was the first 100K that was authorized didn't necessarily mean it was gonna all be deficit, but some of that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
yeah, that's part of what we gotta sort out.
Right.
man,
What the actual numbers.
Expectation is we'll sort
So
out
there's a
what is-
motion
what
by
is the actual deficit at this point in time.
Mr. Rouch.
And we'll also get an estimate of, if we have a snowstorm in April, what's a good guess for what it'll cost in deficit spending? And then we'll agree with the DPW director on a likely transfer request. We won't approve it, but we'll agree on what we think the number is, and we'll then put together a slide that we can expose the numbers to the town meeting and help them understand why we're asking for $87,000.
Or whatever we're asking for.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever, or if we ask for 100,000 or 50,000 or
Yep.
whatever we ask for, we'll try and give them some data that supports the request, that it makes sense.
Sounds good. We need a second.
All right, we need a second on that motion.
I'll
Second.
second.
All right, Walter, second. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Melanie?
Board, yes.
Bradley, yes?
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes?
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Siddiq, yes.
Moretti, yes.
Brody, yes. Okay, so that's 800.
We're going to move to future draft agendas. John, may I ask, we're scheduled to start on the 19th at 9 a.m.?
Yes, that's correct.
So I am going to ask members of the committee to arrive at the high school between 8:30 and 8:45 so we can get ourselves organized. My preference is if you could get there by 8:30, okay? Because we are going to have to get organized, particularly about some of the things we discussed tonight.
We have to vote this Article 6 anyway.
And we have to vote Article 6, correct?
So you're going to post a meeting for 8:30 or something?
No, don't have to. We're meeting as part of the town meeting.
Town
No,
meeting.
that's not true. The meeting has to be
No,
posted.
It's posted,
Okay.
it's just concurrent
I
with
will,
town meeting.
I will make sure we post it.
Mike, Mike, just while I have you here, do you know, or do you want to go first, or are you going to have Christie go first in terms of we report out the town reports? You know, we do the overview?
I think,
I think last year you had Christie go first.
I believe I did.
Okay, you think you're going to do the same?
Yeah, but you know what? Let me speak with her.
Yeah, just
And
let me, if you could let me know,
coordinate that.
just
I'll
so I
let you
put in my
know.
notes which order to call you in, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Thanks.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the committee?
We're not meeting Monday, right?
We have no more meetings until
Meeting Thursday.
Saturday, March 19th at the town meeting,
At circa 8:30.
circa 8:30.
Mike,
Yes, Paul?
is it worth having John tell us a little bit? Yeah, he told the select board, that there are not gonna be lunch breaks and all that stuff. Should we maybe make that announcement here too?
John?
Sure, I'll try to do it quickly because I know you all had a long night. So just a reminder to voters and anybody listening, the town meeting starts this year. This is our second year starting at 9 o'clock. It's the first March town meeting we've started at 9 o'clock. Voters will start being checked in probably between 8 and 8:30. We're going to use the auditorium as the main room, similar to what we did in October. So it's back to an almost normal meeting. So the auditorium will be the main room, and we're going to have one of the gyms as an overflow room or for people who want to be more physically distant. The Board of Health, as you know, no longer has a mask requirement, but they have an advisory encouraging people to wear masks indoors. So we will encourage people, but it's not required. However, I've also heard that some people, because of special circumstances, want to wear masks but don't want to be near other people who may not be wearing masks. So in each room, I'm going to have a designated area where people will have to wear masks because they want to be near other people who are likewise masked. But if you want to wear a mask but don't mind if the people next to you might not be, you can sit in any of the areas that you want. Because typically we usually used to have 2-hour break at dinner between 5 and 7 when we started at 1. Starting at 9, and we did that not because we wanted to take 2 hours, but because people have to leave. We have to leave the room, then they have to check back in. If we did that twice, then out of a potential 14-hour day from 9 a.m. till say we'd go till 11 at night, if it takes that long, we'd lose 4 hours. As an experiment this year, I'm going to try to not have any breaks. However, because I know that's a long time for people to sit, first of all, the Women's Club will be having their usual snacks and water and things like that. But we're going to do an experiment such the school department is trying to work with the cafeteria vendor to keep the school cafeteria open for people who don't want to leave the school and just want to duck out for something a little more substantive than what the Women's Club have. If you do leave the building, you're going to be asked to either get your slip stamped and show it again when you come back, or turn in your slip and get a new one. The town clerk staff will be working on those details. And then if me or any of the deputy moderators need to take a break, I'm going to hopefully have 2 deputy moderators so the meeting can keep moving. Of course, it's up to the meeting. If the meeting says we've had enough, we want to take a recess, the meeting can make that action, but I am not going to instigate that action because I believe with 38 articles, I believe that the impetus for people wanting to start at 9 o'clock is to increase the hope that the meeting can be completed on Saturday. And so I'm going to do what I can to keep the meeting moving and hope that the natural rhythm of people's own needs to get something to eat, to go to the bathroom, will let them quickly duck out of the room and come back and not miss any articles about which they have a deep caring about. So again, it's an experiment. If people have better ideas, let me know. And if it does or doesn't work this year, we'll tweak it and try to make it work better next year.
Thank you, John.
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Melanie?
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Bolin, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
League, yes.
Moretti, yes.
Eight
We
oh
are
oh.
adjourned.
Thank you.